So we will now take public comment on issues pertaining, I'm presuming, to our closed session. And Rod, you want to speak? Meadow wants to speak. And do we have any other requests for at this point? I know we
somebody's microphone is, and
we got to fix a mic here.
okay, much better.
We do have requests for public comment that have come to us in email and expressions of being at our meeting during the public session, public comment period. So we'll take this up again when we get to that point. But for now, you're free to go, Rod and Meadow.
Thank you. So setting aside the issue of, what happened for the 11 a.m. public comment, I don't usually come to these as the union representative for AFSCME, but you had a closed session with your consultant labor negotiator, Burke Dunphy, and the proposal that management has given to AFSCME on Telecommute is extremist and very different than the negotiated letter of agreement that we originally negotiated last summer. Management has barely moved off of their initial proposal. They've made superficial changes to, ands or grammar. And under their proposed Telecommute agreement, or policy rather, AGMs would have complete control. They would have the ability to modify at will, terminate, deny, rescind any Telecommute agreement that they want. They've put a hard cap of 2 days per week, and that goes down to 1 day if you have an alternate work schedule. There's a hard ban on any kind of telecommuting on Wednesdays. There's a requirement that employees be on video across the board. There's no consideration to ban spyware, the use of spyware that explicitly forbids that in management's proposal. There is an extreme degree of legalistic liability protection that the district has put into its policy. And when we raise concerns around discrimination or workers' comp, the response is that, well, you've got laws to rely on, and that ultimately the laws will prevail. But under the district's proposal, there's no recourse whatsoever if someone feels discriminated against, or if an AGM acts in an arbitrary or capricious manner. There's an explicit ban against any kind of grievance process, which is in the current agreement. And it basically boils things down to AGMs having total control, no AFSCME member being to redress or appeal their decisions through the grievance procedure. And if there is an arbitrary or capricious decision, you can't even go to the GM. It's just completely in the AGM's control. Management has not been able to state any reason why they need to make these extreme changes to the letter of agreement that we originally negotiated. And it's just very much all about micromanaging at the level of the AGMs who are divorced from frontline employees. And I think it's a really simple problem. I don't think management's team has included the board in this. And there's a culture of dysfunction at this district. Sabrina is not allowed to effectively manage the AGM team. There are very blurry lines of reporting to the board versus the general manager. And there are problem children AGMs who are just anti-union in general. That's the bent of how they manage. And they are arbitrarily denying these Telecommute grievances and denying the right of employees to telecommute because they want to, because they just want control. And I don't think that you realize that's the dynamic that's happening with AFSCME, but this is a problem. You're going to lose valuable employees who are going to go elsewhere because they can telecommute at other work locations. But even if you don't lose them right away, this is sowing the seeds for future unrest. And I can guarantee you that. You may disagree whether the Park District is an outlier, whether employees are—
That's the time.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this is going to be a big problem for you in the future, and I appreciate you letting us speak.
Thank you. Meadow, you have 3 minutes.
I'd like to speak on two separate items, please. The first item I want to speak on is the Brown Act violation. I'm very frustrated about it right
On the
now.
agenda.
Good.
I can't speak on an item not on the agenda.
This is for public comment on items on the closed session agenda.
Okay, so the item
Public comment was on the
it was
agenda.
on the agenda and there was no roll call. There was no link provided to the public, and that's what I wanted to speak about. So on the agenda was a roll call and a public call for public comment. I went on to the agenda. There was no link to this closed session. I went on the open session link. This is not the first time this has happened. This happened to me on the 19th of July. The same thing happened. I took an hour of comp time to sit for over an hour waiting while I texted the HR manager because I just happened to have her phone number, while I texted board members to plead with them to allow me to speak at public comment. I'm an employee. It just so happens I have these resources available to me. It's unacceptable to me that the public cannot speak to the board during closed comment. I don't know if there were other members of the public that wanted to speak during public comment because it was not opened. A call for public comment and roll call. That was not done. So I'm just frustrated because this is the second hour of my personal time that I've waited. I was waiting to speak at 11. I had a meeting at 11:30. I had lunch plans at 12. Now I had to cancel my lunch plans to sit here and wait for who knows when I was going to come in and do public comment. So I brought this forward the last time and I was told that these issues would be addressed and that the Brown Act would be followed. And I'm frustrated that it's not being followed. So I don't know what else to say about it, but I really would like some accountability in making sure that the public, it's not just about Ask Me, it's not just about Meadow, it's about the public should have access to the board before closed session. And it's as simple as opening the link, doing a roll call, asking for public comment at 11 o'clock, and should there be nothing at 11:05, closing it down. It's as simple as that. So I'm not quite sure why it's such an obstacle, and I really didn't expect it to happen again. So that's my comment on that item. And I do have one other comment on another item.
Okay. Are you going to comment?
I was waiting to be called on. So if
She
you're-
has 30 seconds left.
Go ahead.
Wait, I
Okay.
have 30 seconds in my second comment.
No, we'll count it as two different items. So we'll start over on the 3 minutes, Meadow. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, President Coffey. My name is Meadow Darcy. I am the Chief Steward of Ask Me Local 2428, and I'm here to speak on the recent meeting that we had with management on the telecommute policy. I'm just going to be very practical. I'm a practical person. I believe in coming together and solving problems. I was really surprised after we listened to an entire hour of presentation of this agreement that really had no substantive movement. And I really mean no substantive movement. In fact, we asked, is there anything substantive that, was changed in here? What do you see that's a substantive movement? And the answer we got was, well, we did agree to some things. And so we pointed out, we had the word "and" that we added. There was some other grammatical changes. And the answer was, well, if you put it in there, it must have been substantive. And so that's what we agreed to. So first of all, that was disappointing. But one of the things that we asked was, I said, what is it that made this policy? Why did the district need to change the policy from that letter of agreement? And the district representative's response was, well, we had some learnings that we got from the policy. And I said, great. What are they? I would love to know what it is that you learned or was a problem, because I have not heard of one single problem. I have no discipline. I have no complaints. I meet with myself and the president meet with the HR manager every single week. And I haven't heard, hey, you know what? We're having a real problem with this issue. You are? Let me go talk to my employees and tell them to cut that out. I haven't heard any specific anything come up in this entire time of what the problem was. And so I'm really not understanding why we're not getting that information. And then when we said, please tell us what they are, the answer was, well, I don't know, we'll have to get back to you. And I don't understand how the district could create a counter proposal to this letter of agreement or this new proposal without knowing what the problems were and what they were trying to address. What is the issue? If there's an issue, let's work on it. Let's solve it. I just want to be practical and solve problems, but I can't do that if I don't know what the problems are. So I'm asking that please, can we sit down and actually have a productive discussion about what the problems were and how we can resolve it? Because I know me personally, I'm very willing to do that. If the district wants to tweak the agreement in some way, let's do it. Sounds great to me. So please, I'm asking that the district come forward with a more problem-solving attitude and really wanting to figure out what wasn't working and how we can address it together. Thank you.
Thank you for the input.
I do not see any other members of the public here.
All right, so we will have another comments session on items not on the agenda when we open up our public session, which we're likely to do late because we wanted to get you in here and listen to you. We have not had a substantive discussion on this topic prior to hearing you. So I apologize for the time, but you did actually get to talk to us at exactly the right time. And I appreciate the input, and we'll visit it again on the public session.
Thank you.
Our
Thank
board
you.
meeting will start at 1:30.
1:30. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rod. We'll adjourn this session, go back to our closed session.